PBICT session. We've called it Internet for All, STARTLINK and the Digital Divide. And the session is on the back of what's currently happening in the industry. Like we've said, there's a lot going on in terms of policy direction, and we would like to be part of it. So we've invited everyone to join us in the discussion, take hands with us, and see where we can obviously make our input and make sure that our inputs are always registered and recognized. We thought that we should canvass our stakeholders and our members at large, and this is that session. So I want to welcome everyone. My name is Stephanie Naidu, for those who don't know me. I'm the national chairperson of PBICT. I would assume everyone doesn't or does know each other on the chat, but for the sake of time, you can look at the panel of who is attending. And as we do our inputs, colleagues, can I please ask that you introduce yourself, where you are from, or what industry you represent, and then you can go ahead and make your input, just for the sake of time. So thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to go straight into the item 2, which is unpacking the digital divide. I'll mute myself and the speaker on that item can come in. Thank you very
much. Thank you, Chair, and greetings, comrades. I'm Dr. Leon Rhodes, the president of PBICT. Chair and comrades and colleagues, I think we are here for one reason and one reason only, and that's the digital divide that still exists as a dark cloud over our country. 22% of the people in the country are connected in terms of the last reports. Others can come and argue that, but it's about 22 to about 30%, and only about 10% of the households of the 25 million odd houses are connected to the internet. Now, South Africa is rated one of the most expensive on data, and that is a fact, and that is because the majority of the country, or otherwise of the population, depends on mobile data to be connected, which is very expensive. Now, the reasons for that, otherwise the reasons that have brought us to the digital divide, for those that are new in the sector and for the benefit of everyone that is here, if you remember, colleagues, that in 1993, 1994, when the new government came into power and came into being, what happened then was that there was licenses that were issued to operate, and that was to Vodacom, which is Vodafone, a British company. And then there was MTN and then Telkom and everyone else. And they have an obligation that they must meet in terms of their ICASA license that they hold. And one of that obligation is obviously to connect the underserviced areas. But they haven't been doing that for years, and ever since they started operating. Even recently, when they were given licenses, they still are not meeting their obligation. We have fiber rollouts, and we have Wi-Fi that is being rolled out, and a whole lot of other things that are happening. So, comrades, hello? We have... Can we mute? So what we are having then, Chair, when we look at on the digital divide, is that we have something called individual license. And this is what this is all about. And this is the cause of the digital divide. We have individual license, which is an ICASA license that are held by certain individuals. Most of those people are elite, those that were the elite back then that got their hands on those individual licenses. But most of them have not been able to operate, and they couldn't even start up and have networks, and they don't have networks even today. And that's the reason why that the digital divide is so vast and wide. So which means therefore then that the issuing of licenses based on the 30% has failed the country dismally. And that's a reality that we must face. We as the PBICT have been calling for the upliftment of the moratorium, otherwise the reissuing and opening the window for individual licenses to be issued. So what we are seeing today, we are seeing, to us, it's not because Elon Musk said whatever. To us, it's about the call we've been making from 2017 of saying that the minister must uplift the moratorium on the individual license. This was way before anyone even thought of Starlink. It never even existed by then. Most people didn't even know there's a character by the name of Elon Musk or Donald Trump. But we've been asking for the upliftment. So in reality, what we are seeing being put here is saying that let us give another chance for the bridging of the digital divide and looking at new entrants into the market. Those new entrants that are knocking on the doors is not only Starlink or Elon Musk, but it's our SMMEs that have been banging the door, saying that open this door. We want individual licenses so that we too can be part and parcel of this digital economy. Now, the telecommunications industry is making revenue of 340 billion per annum, and it's only connecting 22 to 30% of the population, which means there's another 600 billion that can still be made, reducing the cost of data and ensuring that our people are connected. So when we look at this, we don't see, like everyone else is seeing, Starlink. We are seeing an opportunity for the upliftment of the moratorium. Now, if this upliftment, the minister is saying, ICASA, can you go and look at uplifting of this moratorium and also consider another option for the 30%? If you are saying that you must have 30%, but there's another alternative that we need to have, an option that says that here is a program that can benefit our people, otherwise unlocking opportunities for Black SMMEs, and also ensuring that the government programs like SA Connect are there, and also the digital skills program can also be funded. So it's either you get a 30%, get an elite Black that you are going to put into your organization, they'll become an instant billionaire and benefit no one, and you operate and do your own things, versus you looking at this empowerment package that we have and using the same amount that you would have contributed on the 30%, use the same amount of value of the money to empower our people and to invest in our projects that are connecting the people, otherwise that are bridging the digital divide. That is simply it, and how we interpreting it, Chair, that we're looking here as this an option, but it's not Starlink. Let us look at the digital divide and the uplifting on the moratorium. That is how we're seeing it, Chair. Because we're going to elections and all of a sudden overnight, there's people that have become experts in the sector, and there's a whole lot of trolls that are now putting things that are totally unimaginable. I saw one video that is saying that Elon Musk will have control and can switch off the internet. Now, Chair, we are in the sector. We know that that is impossible. It's going to control the military and this and that. South Africa military is operating on its own spectrum, and that network is so secure you can't even touch it. There's so many other things, Chair, that we can have discussions on. But right now, we are looking at an opportunity where there is a proposal to look at the revision and the upliftment of the individual license that will open doors to new entrants, like you said, Chair. And those new entrants is not only Starlink. We are one of those new entrants. We want those individual license. We want that moratorium to be uplifted, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. On my opening, that is what I will put out there, Chair, on this item. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, President Rolls, for that opening. I'm now going to invite any additions, submissions, any views the attendees have on the matter. You can raise your hand. If you're unable to do that, you can just unmute your mic, and then you can introduce yourself and come in. Thank you.
I think that was clear, Chair.
Yeah, I don't see any.
Hello.
Yeah, no, sorry. Okay, there's a question in the chat. That can the presenter kindly indicate if this change proposed by the minister can actually guarantee that the dreaded Starlink will not be the one who can take advantage of the opportunity? Can we be assured that our society as a sovereign nation will not be undermined during the process? I know you did touch on it, Prez. If you can check the chat box. Prez, can you hear me?
Yes, Chair, can you come in again? I think I got disconnected there for a while.
Yeah, there's a message on the chat box about whether Starlink can take advantage of the opportunity. Not so sure what that elaborates to, and whether the country won't be undermined in the process. I know you did touch on it, that it's just near impossible to have access to our networks or anyone's networks. It's something I've also been clarifying on other groups, that they say, they're asking me, will Elon be able to access data in our country? I'm like, doesn't just work like that. Even our networks, no one can access it unless we give them permission to. We know the information as ISPs. We know what we're doing in our network. So it doesn't work like that, where someone can just wake up and decide, I'm gonna go and see another ISP's data. It doesn't work like that. So I think we've covered that. And then the issue about, if Starlink does come in, is there any advantages they can take of the opportunity? Is there any detriment to our country for that, if that happens? Thanks, Chris.
No, thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for that. Okay, let's look at, Chair, firstly, the internet and the history of the internet, in case there are some of us here that don't understand where the internet comes from. The internet, firstly, is a product of the government of the United States. That's how the internet came about. It's a government, it's a government, but over time, it has been privatized and is currently owned and operated by what we call ISPs, internet service providers. Like you've correctly said, Chair, that an internet service provider controls his or her own network. Now, if we are to look at sovereignty of our people, sovereignty of our states and those things, Chair, let me just ask a question. That information that social media, if you have a Facebook account, you give them your information free, Google, TikTok, you give it away to them, and they exploit you. Because if you have to go and look for a Ferrari today on Facebook, tomorrow you'll get a whole lot of adverts about Ferrari. That data has already been exploited, right? If we want to talk today about the sovereignty of our country, our entire network, government network, is running off Microsoft, is running off Cisco, is running off a whole lot of other products. Even our systems that we use to run government are developed by outside countries, foreign countries. So that ship has sailed. Ne? Now, the opening up of Starlink, all you are doing is you are just putting another backhaul provider. Every year we have fiber that is landing on our shores and they're connecting to our networks. Every year in and year out, we have fiber landings, which is the same thing. Now, there is no exploitation that can and will happen, because because at the end of the day, you're going to have the landing stations.
I'm looking for sweet one. Where is it?
No problem. I've got an 11 o'clock.
Colleagues, please
Sally.
mute your mics. There's someone
Dr.
that
Sally.
let me just check.
So, Chair, there will be no exploitation. Our network is as strong as how strong we are in our security and how it's configured. But nations, across nations, they exploit each other on data. And as the people, we have given our data for free anyway on social media. Your entire profile on social media is owned by Facebook.
I'm looking for Dr. Sally's room.
So, Chair, the exploitation is something that is far from happening, Chair. Thank you very much.
All right, no, thank you very much for that clarity, Praise. There's a hand up from Boitumelo. You can come in. Please remember to introduce yourself and where you come from. Thank you.
My name is Boitumelo. I'm from the Val. Just a quick one. Maybe I joined a bit late. Can you maybe just clarify me on the? Can you maybe just clarify me on the agenda? Like just maybe state out the agenda so that we. I just feel like from what I'm hearing, we're jumping back and forth. Right? People are raising security issues. Some people are raising political issues. Some people are talking about the business side of this. Right? So the issue of the digital divide is a broad topic. All right. So just 2 seconds, okay? Unpacking the digital divide, political ideology, telecommunications. So issues of security, are we going to be discussing them under number 4?
We are on item 2 right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we are on item 2, but people are already discussing security issues. There's also the issue of the data issues, right? So now you have somebody comparing social media data to personal data that people will be exchanging if they were using their phones to talk about private issues or doing internet banking or whatever the case. So I'm just saying maybe we separate issues, right? We deal with the issue at hand and then we get over it. So let's not jump back and forth between issues. So if now we are unpacking the digital divide, maybe let's stick to that and unpack the digital divide because it's a very broad issue in itself. Thanks.
All right. No, thank you very much. So the context of item 2 was in relation to the current notice that has gone out for the lifting of the moratorium. We were presenting our position as the PBICT that we've always wanted the lifting of the moratorium. It then went into the discussion about what the lifting would mean for certain internet service providers, even us as a group that have ISPs that want licenses. We are also new entrants because we also have networks. So the issue of what the people were asking related, I think, from some of those discussions that were raised, that as you move in, you then have other questions that pop up in your mind, and we can't necessarily control who thinks what. But I think that's where those types of questions came from and the examples. It was because of what we then saying that the moratorium would allow us to do. So the unpacking of the digital divide for us was to say that allow the lifting of the moratorium so that new entrants can come in, get the licenses, and then start deploying and deploying their networks. Because for the longest time, PBICT has been emphasizing this. So that is our context in terms of item 2. We then are asking for any submissions or supporting views on that because we wish to present our input on this process as PBICT to say, look, we support the process because of ABC, and that is the process that's happening now. So we welcome any view for now. What is relevant, we will keep. What is not relevant, obviously, we will put on a shelf for another time or another item. So that's where we are for those who joined late. Colleagues, I don't see any other hands on this item. I'm going to assume that it's understandable for the House. I'm going to assume that the people in the meeting are with us on this position, that they agree with our position, and that we have the mandate to then stick to the way we've explained.
There's a hand from Witumelo. Witumelo's got a hand up.
Yes, ma'am. I was still. So after I also finish my thoughts, I will then recognize other hands. That's how the chairing works. Boitumelo, is it a new hand or a legacy hand? Do you have a follow up? Okay, I see you've put down your hand. Thank you very much. I thought as much. Boyson, you can come in. Please remember to.
Type of meeting it is. The SMMEs are not excluded because now it's a story of the blind leading the blind when they are making decisions, like the delegates that went to America. And this is where we have been missing a lot out of in the decision making that have been made there on behalf of us. Especially for the fact that we are a big lobby group of 8,000 people. I think there should be representatives with submitting, because we didn't put it in our submission with regards to what we have submitted to the SG. So I just want to add this point. We should not allow let the blind lead the blind in making drafting and crafting the policies. We as PBICT need to have a seat at the table because we understand exactly the scope and the needs of our people. It's not generated by AI, but it's real situations that we are sitting with. Thank you, Jay.
All right. Thank you very much, Talita, for that. Strong views on not letting SMMEs be left out in the process. Agreed. That has always been our mantra. Colleagues, I don't see any other hands on this. I would like to move on, and it looks like, all right, there's a hand from Comrade Luvo. If there are no other hands, I'm going to bring in Comrade Luvo, and then I would like to wrap up item 2 so that we just respect the time we are allocated. Luvo, you can come in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to our leadership for organizing this very important meeting as we delve into the policy landscape that governs the sector that we operate in. Chair, I just wanted to check. There are 2 landmark policies, right, over and above the one that we are discussing now, which is the moratorium on the individual licenses. There's also the introduction of EEIPs, right, in the ICT sector, where an opportunity for, I mean, it in its preamble, it mentions, so before I delve in, I unpack, Chair, are we still going to discuss that, or are we going to discuss that in another meeting? I don't want to unpack something and then I'm told later that, no, this is not the meeting to discuss that. Because there are 2 landmark policies. There's the moratorium one and also the EIPs in the ICT sector. I think we really need to have an input on that one also so that it favors, ICT SMMEs. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So the EIP currently is existing. It's there. It is run by the DTI, the DCDT, with the ICT Sector Council. So that process is there, it exists, but it's only for multinationals who wish to come in like this situation and who wish to make contribution, investment. So the minimum investment there is 75 million. That is the minimum for a EIP to be sort of acceptable to and that level. I do know IBM has pushed their investment to almost 700 million over the next 10 years. So I'm not sure in terms of our discussions today whether we should necessarily go into issues of multinationals, but for the purposes of PBICT, we should stick to the constituency we represent. But I think it will be good to unpack it. I can share the documents of how the council like unfolds its process, and then perhaps colleagues can read it and we can have maybe a separate session because it has a lot of information to it. So I'm just worried it will cloud the discussion today and maybe confuse issues in terms of what we would wish to do. So I don't know, Comrade Luvo, is that fine? Should we rather get the documentation together and then we can have a nice informative session?
Yes, Chair. I think let's rather have another session because it's a recent framework that was a proposed framework that was published by the minister, and it's closing quite soon. Also, I think it's closing on the 24th or 22nd of June. So we have a responsibility to comment. So we still have a lot of time to discuss it. So let's park it for a separate discussion. Thanks, Chair.
All right. No, thank you very much. Colleagues, I'm going to move to item 3 on the agenda today, which was the political ideology of South Africa and the ICT sector. I'm going to mute, and then the presenter can come in on this one. Thank you.
Comrade Chair, I'm going to hijack Comrade Luva on this one, because I know there's a lot of discussions around that. If he can come in and just continue on the discussion that is had, and then I will add from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prez. Yeah, I didn't prepare anything, but I'll speak from the cuff. So, as we all know, comrades, I believe all of us here in this meeting are members of the Progressive Blacks in ICT. In the PBICT's founding conference, there was an established constitution, which then, declared that we are supporting the National Democratic Revolution. President will assist me there because I was not part of that conference. I only joined the PBICT in August of that 2017 year. So I'm not a founding member, but I have an understanding of the Constitution and what we are here to do. So the National Democratic Revolution is a revolutionary a task that is given to members of then ruling party, because we were aligned with the ANC in that particular time, and therefore the NDR is what the revolutionary task of every ANC member. It talks about, it defines who are the motive forces, and the motive forces are the blacks in generals and Africans in particular. So why this political discussion is important is because in whatever we do, as an organization, we do it for the motive forces, right? Who are these motive forces? It's blacks in generals and Africans in particular. And so whatever policy position we take, it must always be in favor of Africans in general and blacks, Africans in particular and blacks in general. So if there's a policy position that is against, the motive forces that we stand for, then we ought to challenge it and propose it to be amended so that it benefits us, right? Because if it doesn't benefit the motive forces, then it is not benefiting the majority of the people in this country. So it is important to have a political ideology, because politics is the only thing that we currently have. We don't own capital, we don't own the means of production, and we don't control any of the strategic sectors of the economy currently in the continent and also in South Africa. So the only thing that we have is our numbers politically. We have our views, and we also have, the organizational power to organize ourselves and speak one language. So when it comes to the policies that govern the ICT sector, for quite some time, they have excluded us deliberately, right? They have been clear on us not being part of the mainstream economy. So as the years have gone, even the introduction of PBICT has, from 2017 till now, there's been quite a lot of amendments in policies that have favored SMMEs. We've seen SA Connect, if there was no PBICT, I don't want to, of course I have to, but to promote, what PBICT has done. Since 2017, if there was no PBICT in the ICT sector, there wouldn't be an SA Connect currently that is favoring all these hundreds of SMMEs that is currently being empowered. So the political ideology drove us so that we could be able to have a stance that stands for the motive forces, which we adopted in 2017. However, in our recent policy conference, we declared that the ANC is no longer it is no longer fulfilling its mandate and so on and so forth. And therefore, we align with any revolutionary organization that speaks the language of making sure that Black people are at the forefront of the economy, right? Particularly now we are talking about the ICT sector. So in summary, it is important for us to always remember the political ideology, because if we don't have, if we are not politically clear, we won't be able to speak one language as Black people in the ICT sector. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Comrade Luvo, for that. I knew that if you're talking off the cuff, you'll explain it very clear. So I think then, Chair, we are very clear on this one. First, we are progressive, hence the name Progressive Blacks in the ICT, which therefore means that we support the side that adapts to revolutionary thinking and ideologies in order to transform what we are sitting with today. Now, let us face the fact that the political ideology and the politics of South Africa is totally ignorant and elusive to ICT as a sector. Most of them, we even think that IT to them is just their computer or their phone that they carry, and that's it. They don't know it. Even when ICT surpasses agriculture as an economic contributor, they still ignore it. And that's the problem that you have. Now, why we brought this item in is that Elon Musk comes from South Africa and showed the Shuttleworth. Today, you're having STARTLINK that is leading the revolution towards new and advanced connectivity. And you're having Ubuntu, which is Linux, which 80 to 90% of the servers in the internet are running on Linux, both coming from South Africa. Whether the ideology supported and resulted in them leaving and they coming back angry and saying whatever it is that they're saying is neither here nor there for us. But the ICT sector, specifically, like I said previously, the telecommunication sector is bringing in 340 billion. Now, we have been fighting this fight alone from 2017 and even before that. I joined the ICT sector in 1994 when I came out from school, and I've been in it until now. And we have had to fight. Whether we went to varsity, we had to fight. We had to fight over and over again. Now, the dominance in this sector is still white, very much white. If you go to Afrinic, even you come into the sector, how many fiber companies you know that own fiber, that roll out fiber? And those that are there are a result of window dressing and these frivolous and dreamified BEE policies and window dressings for people that it only benefits the elite few. Now, people wonder why in PBICT, every time when we have things like this, we talk about broadband infraco. It's not because of what, it's because they are progressive in their approach, like Comrade Luvo just said, that they are progressive in their approach, even with development. You go to CETA, you go to all these other organizations, they believe that they must just train us. They've been training us for how long, Comrade Luvo? For more than 10, 20 years, but yet they don't want to give us work. PBI has never trained any SMME, but they have given SMMEs opportunities to be part of SA Connect, and they are growing and thriving. Now, that is the sort of ideology that we support. We support, as the PBICT, progressive thinking. We support political organizations that don't just go and have loud mouths and just go and talking about the sector because they want to be famous in social media and want to pick up likes. No. We support where there is radical change, and that change must be radical because it is progressive in the sense that it focuses on transformation being for Blacks, African in particular. Now, some of those statements can be rhetoric statements, but there are tangible things that need to be done in order for us to achieve transformation. We have had ANC ministers previously. We have said these things and we have requested these things, but they have never happened. If they did happen, they are happening in a trickle effect. We have to fight today. Why is it that we're sitting today and we don't have the one? Because the political ideology, the ruling party still being ANC, did not support fully the one, but they were threatened by big organizations and by laws, because that's how that is the actual political ideology in this country, is the courts. Because anything that you want to do, you're going to go to court. Anything that you want to do is this. Anything and everything is brought back to that, unfortunately. So if we are a capitalist country, it therefore means that we allow capital to dictate policy and the direction of the country. We are just like the United States, and that's exactly what we are. We are a capitalist African way of doing business, where we believe that whatever opportunities are there should be spread in that community. We are here as a community of the ICT sector. So we believe that everything should be spread across. There should be no gatekeeping, and there should be nothing that hinders anyone from growing. And we believe that if there is a CFA, if there is a CEDA, or if there is any economic empowerment fund that is out there, we believe that as a community, we should be part and parcel of that. And we also further believe that those assistance packages, programs should benefit SMMEs, African, Black in particular. Unlike what happened in COVID, when money was given to banks and not one Black ICT SMME can come back and say that we were assisted through COVID with 1, 2, 3, 4. None of them can come like this here. The funding that is supposed to be allocated for growing industry and the sector, the ICT in this country is always in the shadows. It is the last thing that anyone and everyone thinks of, despite us living in an age of the fourth industrial revolution. It is a very terrible country to be in this day of age, because the political ideologies do not support or understand the ICT sector. It is only now that when the politicians realize that majority of the voters is young people, and those people are technologically inclined, it is only now that they are coming now and talking and barking and popping like popcorns to come and put things that they say things that they don't even understand, and they want to politicize this thing. That is the problem that we are sitting with comrades. And this is the situation that we are in. And that is the result of number 2, of the digital divide, and why it will continue to widen if we do not address those issues. Now, all we are seeing in the media right now has got nothing to do with the upliftment of the moratorium. STARTLINK issue got nothing to do with the moratorium. This moratorium is something that we've requested. We had a meeting with the minister and we requested the minister to uplift the moratorium so that we can operate. So what if we STARTLINK and all these other satellites and these other people want to come in? To us, that is a second, it's second to our priority. Our priority number 1 is uplifting that moratorium and ensuring that our people are the ones that bridge the digital divide and benefit from this digital economy. And that is our focus, and that is our priority, Comrade Chair. Thank you.
But you muted.
No, he's done, Chair.
No, I'm done, Chair. Thank you. I think Comrade Du had his hand up.
Yes, I'm taking hands, colleagues. Any input submissions? All right, Comrade Du, you can come in.
organization that we love, MTN. So that tells that I don't know who's this. So, Chair, when you check the age of Vodacom and MTN in this country, it then tells you that these people, they've identified the business opportunity that all of us were sleeping on. They took over the infrastructure that was used by the previous government and own those infrastructures. Even today, you'll pick up that some of the towers and some of the infrastructures that are used by these big telcos in this country were previously belonging to a government of the day. So we took over the political side. We were told as young people that we need to be political, radical, and achieve things. But when you grow up in this ideological position of the organization that we love so much, you then pick up that you are even more poorer now with your ideological understanding and your political affiliation than maybe you could have if maybe you've invested your knowledge and understanding of the sector. So we appreciate organizations like PBICT mainly by opening our eyes and telling us that, hey, comrade, the old gold mine that you used to be taught that you must go to Gauteng and mine the gold there. The time of that thing is over. This country was buzzing with the noise of the fourth industrial revolution. But when we come into the sector, we then pick up that we are not even surpassed the first industrial revolution. We're at a point where, Comrade Chair, we do not even have a single IoT that is coming from this country. At a point where the sector is supposed to be supporting those who are living in Africa because all the minerals, all the small components that are used. At a point where the sector is supposed to be supporting those who are living in Africa. Hey, Chair, there is an echo there. I don't know. There's a comrade to open this microphone while I'm on the floor.
Colleagues, please
So,
mute your
that's the position we are coming at, Chair. We appreciate these views from the President and Comrade Luvo in this, specifically the point number 3 that we are dealing with. Because when we really get into be serious as Africans, especially the black majority, we need to then stop making noise about individual, but making noise about us as the black progressive force that we are. Not but in anything in the sector. When we say the current situation in this country of the sector is the next gold mine, or it was a real gold mine before we deflected and being told about going to platinum and mining the platinum. So this real gold mine check. And we appreciate the fact that we are saying to the minister, no, minister, don't worry about the noise. Listen to the people who are in the sector. This is what we want. I remember the engagement of the minister, Comrade Chair, where you were part of the delegation that took part there. The minister came out of that thing understanding himself, understanding the sector because of PBICT. So the noise that is out there, comrade, some of us, we are participating in political activism. We know that the noise that is out there, comrades, got nothing to do with the sector, but it's everything to do with the politics that has been starving us for many years. We've been starved by this politics. I want to see an individual young person today, Chair, who will say the politics assisted me to be informed. Politician doesn't inform you. They just keep you there waiting for the next 5 years so that you will come back and vote for them. But PBICT is giving us information to say, this is a real gold mine. Can we come in as black poor majority, even as they are busy fighting whoever the satellite company that want to try to come to South Africa? Let's not go to that with a political understanding, but let's go to that and make sure that we harvest business agreement from there. We harvest business knowledge from there. And we are not saying BBI is a messiah. We're saying BBI is the only entity that came out of this government of ours, but understood that the sector belongs to those sector. So we really appreciate this. Because of we will stop there and then allow other comrades to contribute. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Boitumelo, you can come in. Your hands up.
Yeah, no, thanks, Comrade. You do covered a little bit, but to that point, I think we must all take the time and effort to applaud or rather appreciate the existence of PBIT, especially because the ICT sector is generally, for the privileged few, you generally don't find Africans being active or being dominant in that space. So I think we need to applaud PBIT very much so in that regard. And then also what Comrade Kimanlu explained about the mandate of PBIT to say, we don't care, ANC, whatever, MK, EFF, the mandate is Africans in particular. That's the issue that we need to address. But then in that same regard, I think it's important that we make sure that we don't say to ourselves, Africans in particular, and then we fall victim to strategies of external forces who will then use our, because I mean, in politics, that management of power and interest, we don't fall prey to external forces who use our interests against us, right? So we don't, because we have a few of us who have businesses in IT and we want to enter the space, and then we put our focus on, no, they must work with SMEs in the country, right? And forgetting the overall objective of how does that, or working with SMEs, how does that help Africans in particular in the ICT sector? So as such, so for example, we shouldn't be talking about, no, it's either they give shares in their companies or they work with SMEs. It must be a case of us saying in doing both. Because for example, we just passed as a country, I don't want to talk about ANC and stuff, but as a country, we just passed a law that's, the Employment Equity Act, we're busy with that, right? To say we need to start seeing a certain number of Black people in executive positions. Now, as part of that, we must, as part of our submission in understanding the ICT sector landscape, understand that we are addressing multiple problems at the same time. So we have SMEs or small Black-owned companies that are being sidelined. We have in the ICT sector, in executive positions, we have whites and it's basically whites running the show, and then here and there they'll pick one Indian guy, one Black guy, or one colored guy, and then they'll say we have Blacks there, type of thing, right? In understanding those problems, to say we have all these, it's not a one-dimensional issue. So we have all these problems, and as part of our submission, we then say, with all these problems, what are we submitting that will address each of these problems that we've identified? So we say, for example, I mean, we can do the brainstorming. For example, we say, from a shareholding perspective, we don't care, Starlink, whoever. If you're going to come here, one, you must provide shareholding to local individuals in your, whether it's a company that owns shares in your company or an individual that owns shares, but an African must own shares in that company. And that's not a new thing. They're doing it in India. America itself was forcing TikTok to give 50% of its shares. There's nothing new there. So we say, if you come into the country, you must give your shares. And then we might argue about how much, but we are not negotiating that when you come here, you must give your shares. Then we say, on top of that, when you come here, when you're about to do work, 50% of whatever work needs to be done, it doesn't matter whether you're setting up a satellite or whatever, 50% of whatever work you're going to be doing here, you're going to be doing with local SMEs. And we even take it further and provide detail to avoid a situation where they find a Stujiniana, just open a company quickly, you're the blackface, and then they front with him. We then identify, as PBIT here, we ourselves identify and say this list of companies, we know, these are comrades, or these are people that we know, they've done work in the community. This person did not start a company last week, and then he's related to, or he just married some white girl, those kind of things. So yeah, I'm gonna talk forever, but the point is, let's identify the issues that we need to address that speak to the challenges of Africans, and then say, as part of our submission, in understanding the politics of the country and the state of the ICT sector, basically that it's owned by whites, how do we go about addressing those issues? Thanks.
All right. No, thank you very much for those submissions. Dennis Rawls, I see you want to come in. Please remember to introduce yourself and where you're from. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Hey, sorry, Chair. You know, I have 100 jobs here. Thanks, Chair. Dennis Rawls here, DS, Deputy Secretary of PBICT for Systems. Continuing the conversation of the political ideology of PBICT, I think it's very important that we also don't get lost in the source and ensure that our standing and our understanding of being progressive is ensuring, one, that there are implemented decisions that are made which ensure that the masses benefit from that. I know we've been talking loosely about the actual beneficiary of the shareholding of a multinational entity that comes into the country. Even that, when we're looking at it with the political eye, that shareholding, although it's a private person, there should also be a clear mandate of whoever that shareholder would be or group of shareholders to have a clear mandate of transformation, not for self-beneficiary, because that's the most irritating problem that we're faced with when there is BEE beneficiary shareholding in any situation. And it's been known, many people have cited the fact that those people cannot help you, they can't do anything for you. And you being a group of people who are in a particular sector and they want to transform, you want to push transformative agendas, ensure that people have a trickle-down effect also to the economy. So that, with regards to the ICT sector, we are behind. So whoever sits, as much as we're fighting for that, whoever sits there in that shareholding seat must have an obligation, and they need to understand that themselves also, that they are obligated to ensure that Black people in particular are the ones that are going to benefit from that entity coming in. So we don't have to go fight extra in there. It must be a known thing. It must be clear as day, so that that person or that individual or that group, that select group, are not just going there for self-interest only. Because we're going to find ourselves fighting for a Black shareholder, for instance, with the case of STARTLINK, but then they go in and they do absolutely nothing. So we shouldn't be blindsided by ensuring that we have Black ownership or shareholding in the country, but that person must have the duty, and they must ensure that they also consult with the groups. They must be open and be an advocate, an internal brand ambassador of Black progression in that particular seat, and consult with the bodies like PBICT, who have ICT, Black ICT run telecoms entities that are running and actually working and connecting communities and pushing the agendas of the 5 Rand a day and the technologies that are there, the gigabit mesh networks, and also being able to ensure that we have community-led networks and bring people up. And also they need to ensure that they have to also align with government entities also to ensure that, like BBI, and find funds or create funds that will go in through that system also, because there is there is accountability in those structures that allow us now to be able to onboard more SMMEs to participate, and it will have trickle down effects. And even further down, as we go down, that community network needs to have a model also that ensures that those communities are participating in the economy of that particular thing. So when that product lands in the country, we know that even the person down at the bottom there's a beneficiary at the bottom, not only for access in the case of internet, but also has a stake in the economy. Even if they make R1 a day from this thing here, right at the bottom, someone also must make money within those communities. So in terms of political ideology within the ICT sector, Chair, that's my contribution, and that's my closing. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I see that concludes our hands. Botumelo, is it a legacy hand, or do you wish to come in again before I wrap up?
Oh, no, sorry, legacy.
All right, thank you so much. We're doing well with time. I would like us to exhaust the items on the agenda. So, colleagues, I'm going to move right on into our next item. Get the agenda out again. The next item on the agenda is the telecommunications sector economy. I'm going to mute again, and then I'm going to allow the presenter to come in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, comrades, for that input. Once again, Chair, the telecommunication sector that we're talking about, 340 billion of revenue per annum. That is what it brings in. That's number one. And number two, the very same sector, Chair, the penetration, internet penetration in the country, between 25 and 30%. Majority of the population is using mobile networks to access the internet. We are rated one of the most expensive data in the country. ICASA said that we should be paying about 250 Rand per gig of data, but we know that we're paying way more than that. So this sector has become a playground for what we call the monopoly data. They fought us when we wanted to make amendments to the ECA, when we wanted the WAN to come in, and they continue to fight us. The fight that we are seeing now is because the minister has said that they are considering an inquiry for the moratorium, which is what has been holding us back and has increased the competition and allowed the monopoly to thrive in this country. There are a lot of other issues, Chair, that are in the sector that one would not want to dwell on too much. But this industry and this sector is dominated by one side only. I think it's one of the many industries, but in terms of the dominance and the prominence of it being one-sided in this country, otherwise it being dominated by white-owned companies, it is extremely high. If not the highest, I would be shocked, Chair, if there was any other industry that was dominated so much, not just the ICT sector, but I'm talking specifically about the telecommunications sector. Again, Chair, this is because of where we come from. Now, Chair, when we grew up, IT was never one of the things that we wanted to become, and we were the first to enter into this sector. I remember in 1994, Chair, when we came into varsity, even studying IT back then, you were too black to study it. And this is all the way through up until even around 2000, 2005. It was still difficult for us to not only study it, but to get jobs into it. So, Chair, this sector is, as you know, Chair, you are one of the very few women, yourself and Comrade Zinzi Upindi, I see that they are here. You are probably in the country, maybe 3 of 10 Black women that are in the sector that can stand up today and say, I own a network. So this sector has so much potential and so much opportunity, 600 billion rands worth of revenue per annum that can still be generated. Then you will understand, Chair, why they will fight so much to hog it and continue to dominate it. Now, the one thing that we should be applauding, but yet, Chair, we are sitting here and having to defend certain things. And that is because, unfortunately, politicians have become bored because they've become irrelevant, because they haven't served the people. In 2016, on the local government election, the ANC said they will connect the people, but the people are still not yet connected, and they've ignored this. You know, we have to fight and kick down doors. Without BBI, this connectivity and some of the things would have never even happened. So today, because the politicians have realized that they've lost dismally in the last election and they have lost touch with the youth who are the deciding voters, they are now coming and wanting to be relevant, but at our behest. And they are compromising the thing that we have fought for very long. Now, Chair, the key word being fought for. Why is it that we were fighting for this to happen when the ANC was still in power? But now we are not fighting for it. We are now fighting for us to keep the request that we've been making from 2017. So just for everyone to understand, this has nothing to do with STARTLINK. This fight has nothing to do with STARTLINK. So forget the politics, forget the people that are manipulating the situation. It is politics. We are going to local government elections. Let us forget that. Let us sober our minds and let us be entrepreneurs in the telecommunication space. What is this thing saying that everyone has twisted and turned for their own benefit and even added a little bit of spice and salt? So basically what it's saying is that, number one, the report that was done in December of 2019, which is still relevant now, even if you have to look at it, is that there is inadequate competition in the space, and hence it has resulted in the increase of price and in the data monopoly. When we went to present in Parliament, we said, how can Parliament and government allow these big telcos to collude in terms of pricing and to fix pricing, just like what happened with the banks, and they get away with it? And that is because there exists a monopoly in the sector, and we call it the data monopoly. So with the competition and there being a lack in the competition, then the market appears to be one-sided, otherwise to favor the providers not doesn't take care of the consumers. They don't care whether your data disappears. They don't care whether you can afford data or not. If you want to be connected, this is the price, and that's it. It is only now recently that you see them having to change this. They use the same thing to get spectrum and to benefit so much from it. They bully government, they bully the department, they do as they please. And they do what they are doing now. And that is to use these trolls that they have all over to go and demystify the actual thing behind and make it look as if it's something else, just so that they can keep their monopoly. So what the minister is saying is, that this report tells us that they still, this does it exist? Yes, it still exists. It comes back and it says that the statistics, the Stats General report of the household in 2018 said there was 35% of the households that had access to internet. That's why I say it's between 25 to 30%. If it's 40%, I would say that is a surprise. But South Africans are still not connected to internet as they should, and especially the household. This 10% is still very much real if it's not sitting at 12% right now. So the reason for this is because the individual license, you cannot apply for the individual license because of a moratorium, because the ministers refused to do what the minister is doing now, and that is to say, I am opening the application for individual licenses. ICASA cannot open that because it says that only the minister can do it. But the other ministers, for reasons unknown to us, they did not do it. Now, you must remember that there was a time where these 490 individual licenses were given to individuals, just like the license is saying. And those individuals were elite and politically aligned and astute people. They were lawyers, they were principals, and that they were not people in the ICT sector. They never used those licenses. And yet the department decided to rather close them and say, we will not open for any new licenses. So operators, new operators like Comrade Luvo cannot apply for the license that he needs. So he cannot expand and grow his network to be where he wants it to be. So as a PBICT, when we started in 2017, the first thing that we said is that we will get the upliftment of this moratorium because it will bring new competition in the ICT sector and it will allow us to trade and to operate. Now, industry stakeholders, which includes PBICT, from back then, 2017, we have been calling for the upliftment of the moratorium. You can go back to our records and to our archives and you will see that this is one of the things that we've called for. In our policy conference, founding policy conference in Dubai Tradeport, we said under hashtag Internet for All, our first thing that we must do is that we must ensure that there is an upliftment of the moratorium. Back then, there was Minister Utwele, and we went to him and we asked him to uplift this moratorium, which he didn't. And so did we do the same thing to each and every minister that existed. The current minister, when we met with him, the first thing that we said to him is that, Minister, we require the upliftment of the moratorium because it is hindering us in terms of developing and growing our networks. This was before anything and everything else, before politicians even knew there was such an act or that there was STARTLINK or Elon Musk or anything else, before all of these things. So all this policy is doing, it is uplifting a veil that has suffocated this sector. And all it is saying, the minister is saying, is that, ICASA, I want you to look, the authority, to look into the upliftment of the moratorium on the individual license to allow for new entries. And if those licenses can be transferred, and we've always said that those unused licenses must be cancelled and new licenses must then be applied for. And this is all that this is saying. So therefore, the minister is applying what we have requested. And he's saying that there should be an inquiry to consider the upliftment, otherwise the accepting of new applications into the license, and whether it will suit and change the current status quo where the monopoly is so much that they can determine their own prices, and whether this can assist in achieving the national policy mandate of making sure that everyone in the country is connected to the internet and can afford the connectivity to the internet. And the department, or otherwise the authority, is given 6 months to do that. So now we are waiting for the authority to come back in the next 6 months and say that industry, the minister has asked us, as per your request. It was not Elon Musk. He did not ask for it. We asked for it from 2017, and so was BITF and the others. Everyone has been asking for this upliftment before the politicians tainted it and use it for political mileage, just so that they can get votes. We asked for it as the industry for this upliftment. Now, ICASA's work will be to come in and to say, do we change the Electronic Communication Act when it comes to the 30%? And that is where we will then be engaging with the authority and submitting inputs on how we believe, as Comrade Talita was saying, as a sector, one of the industry leaders in progressive transformation, we will come back again and we will submit to say that this is what we believe in. But as far as the sector goes and as far as this goes, we know the sector. We are not poverty stricken by the digital divide. We know that this is not a game and the popcorn game and the circus game that the politicians are playing and linking this to Elon Musk or Starlink. We know that this is linked to our request on the upliftment of the individual license so that we, as the new entrants, can apply for that license so that we, as the SMMEs, can grow that license. That there is Starlink and Yarlink and whoever link and whichever satellite is applying, they will come in and will be applying just like us. But we are supporting this strictly because we have requested this policy directive and we support the upliftment and of the moratorium on the individual license. And we are not blinded or sidetracked by any means whatsoever, or by the misillusion that is being sold by the magicians that we call the politicians in this country that are then selling this thing as something else. What it is to us as a sector, it is the upliftment of the moratorium that we have requested from every minister, and this one minister is the one minister that is finally using his power to uplift the moratorium. It has nothing to do, there is no conversation about BEE and those things. Like Comrade Luva was saying, there are other submissions that are aligned to this that we will be making too. And when the amendment on the ECA comes in, that will go to Parliament, we will have inputs on that. When the authority is given that space of 6 months to come up with how to do it, we will make those submissions. To us, this is something that we accept, something that we appreciate, something that we've been longing for in the sector. Thank you very much, Chair.
Oh.
Poitumelo, you can come in the absence. I don't see the chair. You can come in, Poitumelo. Comrade Mtu, can you chair the session?
Okay, press. Yes.
No, thanks, comrade. Maybe I just like to emphasize the point that I understand the issue is not really around the lifting of the moratorium. The issue is rather around on lifting it. What requirements do we put in place? Because while this moratorium upliftment has nothing to do, well, while it originally had nothing to do with Starlink, right now it has everything to do with Starlink. We cannot be in denial about the reality of what. That's why I'm happy that the chair, the way she structured the agenda items, to say there's the political reality of what's happening in the country right now, and we cannot act as if that's not happening. We cannot allow external forces to use our interests against us. So we want to remove the moratorium. We remove it. After removing it, we open the floodgates to all sorts of fleas to come into the house. So it's not necessary to say whether we're removing it or not. I think we are all in agreement about opening up, uplifting the moratorium, and we all understand the complexities or issues faced by SMEs. We are all clear on that. The issue is what do we then go back to government to say, when you uplift this, we as PBICT or PBI, we say this is what we require. But I guess that's coming in the next agenda item. But let us not dismiss the reality of what's happening in the country right now, because as the speaker or the presenter who just presented explained, this thing has been raised and you've been knocking on ministers' doors for years. Jiki, meeting. Sorry, there's a meeting in America, and then voila, 2 days later, floodgates are being opened. So we cannot be in denial about that reality, that the floodgates are being opened for somebody. But ours is to say, these are the measures we are going to put in place to stop the fleas from coming in, because it will also be a futile exercise. for us to just focus on that, uplift the moratorium, let people come in, and then the people who come in have the power, the political and the economic power to suppress whatever SMEs want to do, because you can still have Comrade Lugo who has who's been knocking on doors for years, but I can assure you, if STARTLINK or the ICT, the current owners of the South African ICT sector, which are essentially Europeans, they can easily just pop up a new company tomorrow morning, put it there and say, here's a black guy. They won't even look at Comrade Lugo. So we must not be in denial about the reality of what's happening in the country right now. So yeah, that's my suggestion, that let us not be dismissive of the STARTLINK issue that exists in the country right now. But yes, we are all in agreement. Moratorium needs to be uplifted. The issue is what mandates to be put in place to make sure that the flies don't come into the house.
Oh, thank you so much, Comrade Boitumelo. I hope press you've noted that. Then we'll respond. Then maybe also Comrade Chair, Comrade Fundi. Next.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to ask this question. I want to emphasize the point that's just been made, because I've lived for a long time. I lived in a period in the 90s when we always used to hear President Thabo Mbeki talk about unintended consequences, because each time we developed a policy, we developed a strategy, we did something, we put a plan into action, it did more than what we intended it to do. So I support 100% what the last speaker just said. We need to be in a position to say we are uplifting the moratorium. But these are the conditions that we are going to put in place. These are the terms and conditions that we are going to put in place, so that we do not open ourselves up to be killed wholesale in our fledgling Black ICT sector. That is what is important. If the moratorium is lifted, what conditions are going to be put in place to ensure that the people who actually benefit are actually the people who are Black and who are in the ICT sector, who are working in the ICT sector? That is what I would need assurance on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Fundi. I think press, because it seems like it's one and the same input from Comrade Fundi and Boitumelo. Let's allow the TG to come in. If he's coming with a different point, then you will be given a platform, press, to respond on the two, and then we'll allow Comrade Maname after. Comrade, welcome.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the opportunity. To those who know me, I'm very short in stature, and I would like to put my words equal to my size. Comrades, to be quite honest, let's agree that the political landscape. Hello?
Yes, TG.
We interrupted here. What's very important for us is to say, in every circumstance that we are encountering, how do we, as Blacks, the marginalized, benefit in that circumstance? Number one, the issue of the lifting of the moratorium is quite clear. Comrade Press have indicated that for a quite long time, for the longest time, we have requested that when our movement had an opportunity.
There's only one seat on the floor. Comrade, can you mute our microphone, please? Continue, TG.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. So it is for us to be clear to say how do we benefit in this circumstance. I was saying that the President has indicated that for the longest time we have requested our own ministers that from our movement that had an opportunity to look after our interest. They never did. Why? They never had the interest of us as Black SMMEs in this regard. Now, we have a minister who's coming at 4, finding our request, but the minister is not coming to entertain our request here. He's coming to indicate the interest that he is saving. We know this the current minister, that his constituency, which interest is he saving? So for us is to say, in this setup and the circumstance, how do we benefit? If it's going to be lifted, how are we going to benefit in that circumstance? We need to work ourselves around that, because whether we like it or not, decisions have been taken. They're going to lift it to achieve particular purposes. In that regard, how do we benefit from that? My next point will be, when it gets lifted, STARTLINK will come in. When STARTLINK come to become a player, how do we participate, or how do we act within the proximity of STARTLINK coming into the picture? How is it chewing our bread? Is it sharing our bread? How is it going to impact our status quo in us as Black SMME delivering services to our own community? I think us, as progressive as we are, we need to look to say, in this circumstance, how are we going to benefit in the scenario? Because whether we like it or not, it's going to be opened. When it's opened, how do we benefit in that? Because now the bigger picture is that the bread, which is the biggest chunk that is going to the people who owns the bread, they're going to take it. They've got plan for it. So as we sit on the table, our plan as we sit here, we need to make strategies to say how to grow our share in the bread. When the moratorium is lifted, how do we benefit, position ourselves to say whether it's open for one player, as we get ourselves to reintroduce ourselves into sharing into these licenses, how do we benefit? And then when the bigger player that is targeted is introduced, how does it impact us? Because we had in our strategies, we can take a stand to say, let STARTLINK come, but becomes a service for the white farmers only. Because basically, honestly, in the rural areas and the underserviced environment, no one is going to afford it, you see. How do we play around to make sure that we capitalize on them, making sure that we still benefit on them, that rather than them going to our market and take out the bread which is reserved for us? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Comrade TG. Press, you can come in there. Those 2 questions: how do we benefit? And then the second one: how do we making sure that the lifting of the monopoly also is started?
Thank you very much, Chair. I think, Chair, we're saying the same thing. Number one, I'm glad that we no longer talking about STARTLINK and making this thing as if it's a STARTLINK thing. I'm glad that firstly, we're talking about the upliftment of the moratorium. We understand that all the directive is saying is that authority, which is ICASA, I am giving you a directive to look into the upliftment of the moratorium. As part of that, I want you to look at new entrants and see how they benefit the national interest, otherwise the objective of connecting everyone. We are not at that point as yet. This is still on the what to do. The how to do it is ICASA has 6 months to come and tell us that, look, we are removing BEE. That is when we're going to fight with them. We are calling on inputs. This is how we see this thing can be done. That is when we will have these discussions, Comrade Umtu. Right now, it's about the directive, otherwise giving the authority, which is ICASA, giving them an instruction, a directive to go and look at opening the moratorium on the individual license that will allow new entrants. How those new entrants will come in, it's going to be deliberated when ICASA releases their proposal. And that is where we will then be looking at some of the inputs that we are making here today. I'm glad, Chair, that everyone understands that right now it's the upliftment of the moratorium. ICASA has 6 months to come back and say how. If ICASA comes back and says that we are removing 30%, that is where we will be having an uphill with the authority and the approach, Chair. But if they come in and they say that, look, it's either, if it's 30%, this is how the 30% will be structured. Another option is you investing in these and these and these government programs that are aimed at empowering SMMEs and bridging the digital divide, which is what we support. The 30% is what Comrade was saying, that you have one person in the whole country of 55, 56 million benefiting out of nowhere and as being used as window dressing. And that is how it's been done. Comrades, we were not born yesterday. We were very much also alive back then. We know very much, comrades, that the Chinese came here to this country. They bought all the factories that were doing sewing and everything. They ran it for 5 years, using the strategies and the policies that we had during Comrade, the first president, Mandela. And then they closed and shut down those companies. That's why today, when we're buying an underwear, we have to buy it for it's made in China. A t-shirt is made in China. And right now we have youth that is lit. And I'm glad that some of them are here. And those youth have seen the mistakes that we have made back then. And they've seen the mistakes that we are making now. And they will not allow those mistakes to be made moving forward. And we cannot allow those mistakes to be made in our lifetime now, whilst we are still here, and we can advise and guide and ensure that the future is protected and belongs to the youth. And that youth is our youth, our people, Black people, Africans in particular. I'm glad, Chair, that the first 3 speakers understand very well that right now there's an upliftment of the moratorium. And then now there's a 6-month process that is going to say how. And that is where we will be then fighting once again and ensuring that everything is aligned accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Press. The fight continues, comrades. I will give Comrade Maname, Talita, and then Comrade Temba, and then we close on this topic, comrades, so that we'll move on the next agenda, point on the agenda. Thanks. Manami. Comrade Talita, you can come in. Come back to Manam.
Thank you, my leader, for giving me the opportunity. For those that are late, I'm Talita Boyson, Northern Cape PC of PBICT. Chair, this is what I alluded the whole time when I was saying that we can't let the blind lead the blind. It's in the 6 months that is very crucial to ensure that we don't leave it in government's hands to make the decisions. If we go and look at the Webersteer debate that have happened, it took those people 15 years before they get the indigenous rights back. The ganja law that have been passed, the Prince 3 law that have been passed, those guys are arrested on a daily basis by the thousands, and then they innocent for having ganja on them because they are this is the law that they had fight to be lifted. And at the end of the day, those who have fighted for the laws to be lifted those are the ones who are set back, especially during the 6 month period. We must ask them to allow us to be part of the 6 months period so that we don't come back with human rights and fight again, a big fight for triple BEE. No, we must be the people who write this policy in this 6 months' time. In this 6 months' time, we as PBICT or the ICT people of South Africa, the indigenous, because this is our air and this is our ground where they are going to put their saling on. Leave the racism that they are talking about. This is our ground where they are putting the fiber on. We need at least, like Rebus did, 1% of the revenue or 2% of the revenue. We should say that this is how we want this bill to be structured. Because in the 6 month period is done, then it's a very few months that we are having 1 or 2 months or 1 month to give new inputs, which is too little, we don't have that time. We have to entrust people that say, this is the group of people that we are sent to go and sit on the board while they are scratching and putting in, because those people won't understand what this thing is about. They are coming in now to come and write bills that they don't have a clue about. And this is what I'm emphasizing on for the 6 months period. Thank you, leader.
Thank you so much, Comrade Talita. Comrade Themba.
No, thank you, Chair. I hope I'm audible enough. And I know the first name that appears there is Themba, but my other name that I'm known as is not Holmes. Comrade Chair, without wasting your time, the following, Comrade Fundi and the speaker before Comrade Fundi said a mouthful. But the comrade who just spoken now, that's where my emphasis is. Comrades, we wait until the last minute. The language jargon, and not only the language jargon, also the intention, if it's malafide by those who are in charge, it only becomes visible at the end of the line. Meaning, we cannot wait and just trust that by just virtue of what was said, this is what was saying. And that for me is an issue that we do and leave for the last minute. And at the last minute, we then go around looking for this and that, and that might just be too late. Mine is to emphasize what the latter speaker said. Amongst other things, do we have within us the skill and the ability to make sure or guard against anything beyond what we are saying here? That's one. Two, should there be any action that is beyond what we think that's what they were saying? Are we ready with what is the next move that we do? And I mean legally, to either approach any court for any interdict, but understanding what we are interdicting and what language and what is said there, because we will lose at the end if we did not understand the beginning. So I'm emphasizing that it cannot be left to what just we're saying here, because I listened to the minister. The minister is not talking about opening it up necessarily to new entrants, if what he was saying this morning is true. He was more emphasizing on opening it on the basis that we're no longer looking into bogging down those who are the new entrants into the BEE frameworks and the likes. But what do we do with the 30% of any other choice we have than to give to few people to benefit? So that was his emphasis this morning. So I'm saying, don't leave it too late. Don't leave it to chance. Let's be ready on what action then it takes place immediately, so that the process and the fight doesn't take 10 years as the Oroipos and others were involved in some of the productive cases that we see before our courts. Because when they have got the muscles, political and financially, forget it. We can make noise here and fight, but we'll end up with them being everywhere and anywhere, and we are left with the eggs on our faces. That's my input, and if I have wrongly said something that is already being repeated somewhere, I'll apologize. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, leader. No, you haven't been wrong. We're just putting a point across. We believe that everyone here is in the sector and they got all the capable skills to challenge whatever it is coming. Comrade Sam, you will come in, and then Comrade, I will close on the hands because of the time. After Comrade Sam, and then we'll move to point number 5, and then we'll get a summary at the end of the point. But we did uphold the view of Comrade Talita, and then you, Comrade Temba Mnoto. Comrade Sam, come in.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sam here, NEC member. I think the speakers that have spoken already have touched on a few points, and just to highlight the one on that unintended consequence. I think we are here. We are here because of this digital divide, and maybe that also was as a result of where we are or what was done prior. So those network providers who have got these licenses have got a mandate, have got obligations to serve these underserviced areas, and there were times where they were given spectrum for free, and then again comes time for ICASA to auction off the spectrum. So they've already given them a head start, and then they auction the same spectrum back to them with money that they made from us. So I think on that one, on unintended consequences, we need to try and find ways of how are we going to level the playing field. Yes, we opened this moratorium, but for these players, for us who are wanting to get into the space, we are already underprivileged. I think we were on the back foot. Now we are further behind because these guys who have been given these licenses, these guys who have been given the spectrum, the guys who have been there for a lot longer are now miles ahead. So I think when these opportunities come, there will have to be these obligations, and these will have to be policed. And just like the previous speaker has spoken, so now what happens then? So here is MTN or Vodacom who has got an obligation to provide internet to underserviced areas. So if they are not meeting that obligation, they are fined. They are fined, let's call it R1 million a month. Where does that money go? Does it then favor ICASA and favor MTN for MTN to be paying ICASA this R1 million, and it betters their balance sheet? Or do we then say, okay, so if that is the case, then they pay a fine, and with that fine, it then needs to go back to service this obligation through black SMMEs. So either way, it goes around and comes back. Thank you very much for that, the opportunity, Chair.
No, thank you so much, leadership, Comrade Sam. Comrade Manami, are you back? I will just give you 2 minutes leadership so that I will allow the agenda to move. Manami? No, I don't hear you, man. Leadership. I think let's move. I don't know if it's your microphone or your device. What is happening there? The last point, comrades, or the point before last is the PBICT position. Comrade Luvo, can you come in on the PBICT position? And then we then do the two PBICT position, and then we do the way forward at the same time. I would then allow the president to then come in on the closing remarks. Comrade Lovo.
All right. Thank you very much, Comrade Chair. I think a lot has been said. I think President summarized quite a lot in terms of the background of the telecommunications, policy landscape and the legal framework that governs this sector. So I won't touch base on, the legal requirements in order for one to participate in this sector, so that for those who may want to understand. But so President has done that extensively. So in terms of our position, comrades, uh, there's a saying that says, the best time to buy is when there's blood on the streets, right? Whether there are unintended consequences, whether this policy has been pushed because of Elon Musk, based on whatever happens, the fact is that the policy is at our core. I mean, the minister has proposed it, and it is at our disposal, right? We have an opportunity now to comment and provide direction on the policy. So policy, in my understanding, is when government submits it to the public, and so that the public can comment. Then after the comments have been reviewed, then there will be, the government has no choice but to meet the public comments halfway. So it generally becomes a game of numbers based on the quality of the inputs and also the quantity of the inputs. So those who are analyzing this, look at what is the general view of of public sentiment, and also are these views making sense in terms of the regulatory framework and so on and so forth. So if they are making sense in terms of the regulatory framework, then it stands. So every view that comes out of this policy process counts, right? So this process that we have started, we are publicly engaging, which we are going to feed all of this information into the PBICT position when we are submitting these inputs. The deadline is on I think it's on the 23rd of June. So we still have quite a lot of time to prepare and submit a quality input, and also try and mobilize others in the ICT sector, other progressive formations, so that they can align with us, because the more inputs that align with us, the better, because they wouldn't be able to pivot away from that position, because if there's 7 organizations that are saying the same thing or something similar, then they are forced to align to that. Or we can actually take them to court and ask them, why didn't they take this position, whereas the general public view was saying this? So they have to meet us halfway. So all the points that we've read, the unintended consequences, we can mitigate that by submitting our views to this policy input of the lifting of the moratorium. So as PBICT, it would be strategic for us. I think the general view is that we accept, the lifting of the moratorium. I don't think anyone, disagrees on that one. I haven't heard anyone disagree on that one. So that's our position. We accept it. And then the views that have been balanced has been on what Madam Fundi mentioned on the unintended consequences. And I think Boitumelo also raised some of these views, that should we open it up? Of course, yes, we accept that we are opening it up. But what about the unintended consequences of having, foreign companies? That's where then we as progressive forces, right, who align to PBICT, then come and align it to our own political understanding of saying that it should favor, right, Black and Africans in particular. Whatever way, whatever happens. So they may have done it. I think a lot of people have been saying that this policy has been pushed because of STARLINK or whatever the case may be. Whether that is the truth or not, it doesn't assist us, right? What assists us now is that, yes, the policy is at our disposal. We have an opportunity now to own individual licenses as small operators. So it's an opportunity for us to have these licenses, which have been closed off for quite some time. So one of the requirements here in terms of the ECA, it is said, right, in terms of, in order for you to qualify to have a license, whether it's an ECS license or an ECNS license, either class or an individual license, you have to show technical capacity and also financial capacity. So this is where the unintended consequences, then we have to find a way of closing it. But it will need more engagements of how do we close it off so that only Black people in particular, and Black people in general and Africans in particular benefit from this. It needs more discussions, but we need to close it off to make sure that we are the ones that end up benefiting from this more than any other foreign entity or whatever the case may be. So we need to have pointers there that say that, for example, there's no need for financial capacity, right? Or we provide a financial capacity which is reasonable for most Black people in South Africa, which would be zero. If they were able to give Vodacom and MTN spectrum for free in 1993 and 1994, why are they putting a value on individual licenses when it is our time now to gain access to those individual licenses? And also, but I think the equity equivalent and also the equity equivalent, we then say also in this comment, we also have a position to say, instead of this equity equivalent being directed to a consortium of individuals, of elite individuals, we want that equity equivalent should a licensee become a STARTLINK, for example, or whatever corporate or whatever Chinese satellite entity comes into South Africa and wants to operate a satellite within our geographical location, they would then also have to apply with the same conditions. So we would propose to them that if you want to operate in South Africa, there should be a fund that is dedicated, which would be managed by so-and-so organizations. In our country, I would like to propose that PBI is the most progressive state-owned entity and showed that they have, they have the hearts of SMMEs at heart. So therefore, our position should be, should be aligned to organizations like PBI, who have shown that they can, they support, the growth of Black-owned internet service providers. So we then say, instead of that 30% equity ownership being directed to an EIP in its current form, that amount of equity should then be directed to a fund that would, operate the same way as the Broadband Access Fund or SA Connect. That way, we don't find ourselves in a position where we get those unintended consequences, where Starlink comes in here, and then we find that they have a BE partner, which is an individual that is a counter-revolutionary and has no interest in assisting Black people to enter into the mainstream economy of telecommunications and ICT in general. So I think that should be our position, and I think that's generally what we've been discussing. So I think to close and have a way forward, the way forward then would say that Chair, under your leadership, I don't know whether we should open it up further, but I think I've highlighted the position of PBICT. I would then open it up to say that are there any additions or are there any rebuttals to what we are saying as PBICT will be our position as we submit? Of course, this is not going to be the final, but it will be the summarized policy position that we are going to take. But it will be the final, but we will have more time to feed more technical inputs and more regulatory and legal input, so that it's very clear to all the regulators what our stance is. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you so much. Comrade Luvo, on the position of PBICT. Press, are you available for a way forward?
No, thank you very much, Chair. I think, Chair, let me give the way forward as a closing remark as well, so that we don't have to listen to the same person twice. Thank you, Comrade Luvo. Thank you, comrades, for all your inputs. And thank you, Chair, for having this wonderful session. Chair, the PBICT is an advocate group. We are the voice of the people. We are the only organization that has a real, tangible constituents. We are the only ones that have an NEC that is elected by at an NGC where we call all provinces. We are the only ones that have structures in all the provinces. We are the only ones that have 8,000 members. We are the only ones that have tangible programs that are connecting the people, introducing people into 4IR. And when I'm talking about people, I'm talking about people in townships. I'm talking about us connecting people in squatter camps. I'm talking about us connecting people deep in the rural areas, even in places that no one dares to enter. We are the only ones, Chair. We are the only ones that educate people. We are the only ones that speak truth in the sector. And with that, Chair, being said, we have a task ahead of us, as always, as the PBICT. Chair, we will continue to keep a close eye and watch on the draft transformation fund as it becomes to implementation phase. We do know, Chair, that ICT is always excluded. Even if you look in this draft transformation fund, they speak very little of it. They focus a lot on agriculture and other sectors that ICT has surpassed. So we understand the people that we are dealing with, Chair. We are just glad that we have a minister that actually understands ICT and its value in this day of age, irregardless of where they come from. We are glad, Chair, that we have a lot of young people that we have seen even get elected into our structures. We have young people leading our provinces, and we have those young minds that we need to ensure that the environment is ready for them so that they do not have to have this fight, so that they are become the implementing agents in the future. We are not doing this for us. We are too old for that. We are doing this for the next generation, for those young people. So with that being said, Chair, that fund of 100 million, we will ensure that our members are benefiting from there, especially the young people, that their innovations and as they build their networks and as they come up with ideas, that they are supported. We will ensure that, Chair. That is our job as the PBICT. This policy directive, we will support it. In the next 30 days, we will make our submission to say that we support the upliftment of the moratorium. After that, Chair, we will monitor ICASA on the 6 months as they draft inputs or requests for our inputs on how this moratorium will then benefit our people. And yes, Comrade Luvo, we will ask a question, why now must we pay for that individual license as Black SMMEs, whereas it was given for free before? And we already have people that are in the sector, and we will ensure that it never happens again in our lifetime where such licenses and such opportunities are given to teachers and principals and lawyers that know nothing about the sector. We will ensure that it goes to where it is directed, like Comrade Talita was saying. That is our job. And yes, we will not wait for last minute. We know these things, how they turn. We have seen them turning before and how they always turn. But we will persevere and continue our fight to ensure that our people are included. Yes, Comrade Chair, we will be engaging with STARTLINK. We will be engaging with whichever other satellite that wants to come in, like we always engage, and we are part and parcel of engagements of the undersea submarine cables that land on our country. We do enforce that also they should be beneficiation of our people. Comrade Chair, we are in talks and in discussions with certain stakeholders in the response or the inputs into the ICASA in the spectrum that they want to issue. And yes, we do support that Broadband Infraco must be the one that is given the authority to distribute that spectrum. They are the ones that are given the mandate to connect our people. And it is a state-owned entity that has no capitalistic interest, but the interest of the people. So we will be supporting this, and we will be joining forces with them in our submission that they are the ones that should be given that. Like we supported in the submission of the one that they stopped that we still and are of the belief that Broadband Infraco must be what it is, a state-owned entity that has a mandate to deliver connectivity to our people on market rate, affordability, and also spanning everywhere in the country, then making everyone to be connected. This particular topic is on our program, which we hold dear to heart, that is led by Larry, which is Internet for All, because it's our belief that every South African should be connected to the internet. And connected to the internet means that you can afford that connectivity. It also further means that if you cannot afford it, you should be able to walk just under 1 kilometer to the nearest hotspot where you can get free internet. And if we do that, we believe that the future is bright for our people. And if we bridge that digital divide, we enable them to connect to the digital economy. Once again, Chair, this, I'm speaking for myself and for those that are 60 years old like me, this is not for us. Our time has passed. This is for the next generation. It's for the ones that are coming behind us, Comrade Chair. With that, comrades, thank you very much for participating in this year, and we really appreciate it. All other future events, as we implement this and we ensure that it benefits our people, we will be inviting and we will be engaging with you. That is it on my side, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Press. Thank you so much, everyone, all the provinces, all the NEC members, all the members of the society, and all the SMMEs in the sector. The meeting is coming to an end at 16:05. For any progressive discussion, comrade, will continue to communicate, or else please follow PBICT in all the platforms so that you'll get more information. Thank you so much, comrade. Have a beautiful day. Bye.
Thank you, Chair. Siyabonga.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Papa. Thank you very much.